that of Benny Hinn, Pastor Benny Hinn, who is in town and has been holding this since Saturday. This is what Gams has captured here in the Standard today. Also, Natembeya talking the nation and walking the walk, right? I'm walking away. He seems to be walking away as we have heard that particular song, and you can see the kingpins of the Luhya nation also who have been crowned here. Is he walking as a loner as far as Luhya unity is concerned? I'll leave it for you to decipher. This has been captured by Ozone Inside the Star today. And also the affordable housing bill that is being crammed down our throats. Who is behind all that energy? And we can see the MPs here. They've been used as a conduit to push the affordable housing bill, and you are the Kenyan who's trying to swallow this bill, as you can see it, right? The MPs have actually made sure that it's gone through the second reading. Now actually the third reading is awaiting the assent of the president right now. We shall be looking at this much later in the course of the program with our panelists, how also it was in the House and now it is headed to the Senate. How will it fare as far as debate is concerned? Many questions were raised by the opposition regarding the nature of debate that was on the floor of the House that was not conducive to tease out some of the key issues in the affordable housing bill or the housing levy. That is the... And also, Baba Tosha, this has been ongoing as far as the AU chairmanship is concerned. And you can see Baba Tosha, Baba for AU Secretariat. Right, this is what Victor had drawn earlier. And on devolution, this is what we're discussing, especially with the pending bills. There has been that cry from the counties that there are no monies on the pail. And you can see the pail is empty. And the chair of the Council of Governors with the president there saying, hey, throw in the money is there, and this has been the row. Many of the governors are frustrated, but the key issue that also we're discussing this morning is the pending bills, and we can see the publications in the Daily Nation, the publication in the Daily Nation highlighting this, some of the worst and the best counties to do business with. Nairobi amongst the worst to do business with, doggedly followed by Kiambu at 4%. Nairobi stands at 9% as it is right now. And we have Nyeri and also Murang'a doing very well as far as doing business with those counties is concerned, starting at 100%. All right, and Eurobond, on Eurobond there is this hole, it's a black hole, so to speak, as you can see, and it's not filling up. Sorry, it's filling up slowly, as we can see, taxes and more taxes. And you, Kenyan, you're the cow there, so to speak, with my tongue family in cheek, as is being depicted there by Victor, who is being milked right now with all these taxes. The Eurobond, as we saw it, and we saw also the Okoa Kenya, that is a civil society, or Okoa Uchumi, they're decrying this particular, not Okoa Kenya, but Okoa Uchumi, decrying this particular development of borrowing to also pay the debt and accruing more interest rates as far as the Eurobond is concerned. We continue to with the conversation with the panelists, and that is the story that you want to follow right now inside the Daily Nation as far as pending bills is concerned. Let me try and just highlight that for you so that we can continue. Before we took a short break, I think, Hillary, you on it. You're not finished, had you? Sige. All right, let me give you time to munch up so that we can...
Thank you. I'm going to follow the team.
There were two things I wanted to bring forth into this conversation. One of them is I've heard what my brothers have said about the control of budget. Dibal, according to me, the experience I've had with her and the kind of information that I have seen her disclose and details.
Yes.
I would want my brothers, before they can judge her, let's call her to committee. Honorable Sige, we are in the Senate. Let's bring her. I have known that lady never lies. I have seen her make comments about some of our counties. She has brought out issues of the Senate which are astounding. She has told the national government, please let us not be wasteful. That is her job. My honest request to my colleagues and to Kenyans is, let us begin to safeguard our democracy by allowing institutions to function. If she makes a professional mistake, then we have got a structure that you bring in. and you say, Madam, please come and tell us the detail and the information that you talked about this day, where did it come from? And if she's wrong, then there are punitive measures you can bring in to then discuss her. Number two, one of the issues that has been discussed in the Senate, and my brother is there because we are always engaging in these things, is that, Dibal, there is, by either design or by default, there is a failure in our IFMIS system. IFMIS is not encrypted from end to end. In other words, if you wanted to put data in it, you would have to logically start from one point and go all the way until you close the loop, so that you are able to execute. So what happens? You bring county governments bringing their budgets and uploading them onto the IFMIS system at the central bank. Once they upload that information, it is then sent to the controller of budget. But you see what happens? The IFMIS system is then manipulated, whereby some governors, instead of allocating money from what the county governments had actually allocated, they then switch the figures internally using the IFMIS system, which is against the PFM Act. And then now you find that some of the areas where money was supposed to be spent and it was for valuable or whatever, that is not done. Areas where there's like the first charge of paying contractors, you'll find the contractors that are being paid are the ones who are currently working with the current government. They are not paying any historical bills. These are some of the loopholes we need to block within our systems to make sure that the money goes to the county governments, budgeting is done properly. If we agree that we are going to pay contractors who have worked during a period, please let us do it. Let us make sure we pay our salaries on time. Let us make sure that the county employees are getting their benefits. NSSF, NHIF, insurance policy. You find some counties they have no insurance for their workers. In other words, we are running some of our counties basically like banana republics. So this report to me is beginning to interrogate the capacity of our management capacity in the socio-political and economic sphere. We are going now to have candidates who, in fact, Honorable Senator Sige, in the future, the people who Kenyans want to make to be president might be coming from the governors.
Sure.
How have you performed? What have you done with your people? How does the area that you are actually, the county, how have you managed the resources of that county? And that is the rating that we now need to start looking at using data, not which is the clan matrix, which communities. You see, I was looking at the cartoon where Honorable Musalia is looking at Raila and is embracing him. All of a sudden, Musalia now is beginning to dawn on him that, oh, Raila is not going to be there. Now I need the Luo vote. You see, and he's no longer looking at the fact that now, how is my performance? All right, what are the issues that I should be embracing and telling Kenyans? What is his greatest achievement? He's been given an opportunity by President William Ruto to perform. I want him to perform exceptionally well. If you compare between Musalia and what Wetangula did as ministers of foreign affairs, you can see an automatic difference. If you look at Nairobi City County, Johnson Sakaja has done extremely well with health issues. But what about the other issues? Why are you having these weaknesses in some of the areas in Nairobi City County? This is how, to me, we are going to interrogate our counties and our country for us to make it grow and develop.
All right, yes, sure. I wanted to allow me to just close on what he said, because he's...
right, I think he was give you a chance. And
I was trying to swallow something hot. He's brought out what I wanted to say with regards to the manipulation on the payment platform, the IFMIS. Yes. Because, as a matter of fact, when you listen to these pending bills, the contractors, the county governments concerned, and even employees from within the county governments, you are actually left wondering, then why do we have IFMIS if it doesn't have an end-to-end process? Because, Dibal, what happens, as I had said earlier on, you have procured services from certain contractors. They have performed their assignment. You have verified that indeed they're supposed to be paid. But unfortunately, because they are not the same people who are working with the current administration, the current governor, you do not pay them. But what you do at the county level, you approve them. There is something what everyone says, payment zako ziko IB. That is internet banking. Your payment is outstanding at the internet banking. What is only waiting for is a click of the button, then you get your money. That is the message that you would get almost all contractors are being told. Your payment is pending at the IB. But what happens is...
Why is it pending?
That is it's a story because number one...
Is that what we're talking about? The facilitation fee that is needed?
No, I'm headed there. One,
that's your head.
You're being told that it's in IB so that you either part with a facilitation fee for purposes of ensuring that then your company is not excluded from that list because it happens. You shared of a list, but the companies which are being paid are companies which have not done any assignment, which are companies belonging to people who have parted with some amount as facilitation fee.
Oh, they are friends of the governor.
It is so unfortunate that that is what happens. They call it kulipa mahewa. That is largely what happens in our counties. I have experiences. You get very young contractors in my county, Bomet, who've so worked hard. They've taken loans. They've taken, they've sold their little resources they had to invest in projects in the county government. But because they are unable to pay 50% of the facilitation fee, they're not paid. The problem is the IFMIS system is not, it's not from end to end, so that once you have a list, that list goes all the way to at the level of approval by the Comptroller of Budget. It's the same list that has come. But what happens is the CEOs, that is the county office, the county officers from the county government are the ones who would come and sit at the central bank. It is their business to list Company A belonging to Sigei is not going to be paid, even though he's worked, he's not in good terms, he's not given us our 10%. Remove him from the list. Replace him with a list of a company that has given you a certain percentage. Company B, this is what's not going to happen. They care less about the requirements of the PFM Act. They care less about the first charge of the resources, and they find excuses now on how we are going to explain why we have not been able to pay this, there is delay. And that is why, at the county level, the projects which are visible, which we can see and verify as having been done, are projects by the CDF, not by the county government, zero. Yes, and particularly in my county, my friend, it is bad news. It's not as... It's bad news. It's bad news.
Are we having a continuation of this list? I think I should grab just see where you're counting.
No, my county, it's rated at 94%. I am telling you the statistics because I have the statistics. 1.2 billion is what is outstanding. The governor, when he appeared before the Senate, he was talking about 400. When we gave him the documentations from the Auditor General's office, he was unable to answer as to why he's saying the pending bills are at 500, yet documentations which we had as a committee was at 1.2. He went down back to the county, established an executive committee that came out with the 1.4 billion as pending bills. Dissatisfied with that, though that was his committee, decided to ask the county assembly to do it. They came up with the same amount. So it's that bad, especially when it comes to governance of public resources.
All right, so when we look at the IFMIS, I think there is maybe an attempt to try and game the system as it is right now. Because you talk about this system is deliberately being gamed for maybe the benefit of other people who also are pushing through the National Treasury to make sure that their money is actually steamrolled down to the counties at the end of the day. I wanted just to come to you, Honorable Kali, and ask critical questions. First of all, this has been addressed before. We had the president sitting with the cabinet, and they said we need a pending, that was a pending bills verification committee. What happened to the pending bills verification committee? And we have the national government pending bills, which for me it's a bit confusing. As a national government pending bills, and also we have the county government pending bills as well. How does that also sit well with the entire topic of the pending bills at the end of the day? So just let us try and tease out these issues critically, because there has been an attempt to try and sort out this issue, but it seems it is not moving at all.
You know, Dibao, thank you very much. The issue of the pending bills, and I like the question you're asking, is actually an issue in terms of technical issues. It's an issue because it has been seen as a make car. You know, people use pending bills to make money. And that's why you see any administration, when they come to power, the first thing they do is verification of pending bills. These things have been verified more than 3-4 times. Anybody who has come to power...
I think if the court stopped the verification of some of the counties, isn't it?
So you see what normally happens is, the whole process of verification is to give you an opportunity for rent seeking. so that
Thank you.
once I confirm Senator Onyonga as a penny bill,
Yes.
and I know he has been waiting for 3-4 years to
Yes.
be paid, and he owes the government about 100 million, I'll tell him, you can do with about 80 and 20.
20 is mine.
Uangalie waze.
Yes.
So you see in the process,
Yes.
because he has been waiting for this money and the bank is on his neck, what will happen? He will say, I'd rather take the 80,
we'll
clear
just
the
give it
bank
easily.
loan, even if I don't make anything.
Yes.
So to me, the issue of the pending bills in this country, what we need about is a bill which has been verified as a genuine bill will always remain genuine, even if it's done by who. Because what they look at is the documentation. The procurement process, was it done as per law? If it is done, then whoever comes will always pick those things. But then the issue is, can we just say, anything which has been verified and categorized as genuine, let it be paid? So that now we start working on the payment plan.
Yes.
We say this year we'll pay 20%, this year we'll pay 20%.
20%.
In 3 years we are done.
Yes.
And then we can create new pending bills if there is need. But the issue of the IFMIS, you know, IFMIS is just a short form of Integrated Financial Management System, integrated, which means it's actually a complete system. Another problem here, IFMIS is also being used. What is ailing IFMIS as a program is a human factor. So you have individuals
Thank you.
who the
Deliberately.
system is so good,
Yes.
but deliberately they want to manipulate it.
And to produce that another result which they
So
want.
what has been happening, and because I'm in the budget committee, I know what normally happens. What has been happening, even the IPMI has been also used to control budget implementation.
Thank you.
You see, you have, for example, your budget of 20 billion in a year, which is supposed to be on quarterly basis, possibly 5 billion, 5 billion. Then, because we are not collecting revenue as expected, at both levels, at national level and even at the county level, what will happen is you have already a due payment, but you don't have the money to pay. So what do? You clock the IFMIS as an individual. The people manage it. That's why here in most cases, IFMIS is closed.
Yes.
How many times have you heard of that
Yes.
fact? IFMIS is closed. What they do is now, they will make sure that you have no access to the system. In that case, you can't pay.
Yeah.
So to me, all these things are just manipulative systems to make sure that people make money out of the real situation. And if we want to help this country, we need to get a system where I've always said many times, and on this table I've said many times, corruption is the giant which will kill this country. That is the truth. If we are just to isolate the corruption out of what we do, this country will be able to move. But you find any Kenyan seated anywhere, they just go for opportunity to tweak the thing so that they make money. Any Kenyan, is it anywhere?
Whatever it is.
Iko kakitu.
Can I squeeze this one so that by squeezing it, something comes out? You know, that's what every time, and that's the problem. Now let me comment about the control budget because I've interacted with her many times. I interact with the controller budget issues. I interact with her public debt issues, and I can tell you for sure, this lady, the only thing you can talk about her in terms of not giving us the correct data is basically timing. Like, you know, you see this report is June 2023. So if you looked at this report and apply it today, you might think she's not giving the right information. But if you go as per the timelines, the dates indicated in our report,
That was the true
the
Just put on
100% accurate, I can tell you for sure. I've
Yes.
looked at our reports many times, I've read them. It's not that you might be reading a report because naturally this one we have been addressing that, asking her, why can't you be up to date in terms of reporting? So that when I look at your report today, I'm reading a report of possibly up to December 2023.
Yes.
But you find most of the reports you are reading are either 6 months behind or a year behind. So if you don't take note of the date, you're likely to think she's not giving the right information. But in most cases, this lady gives very good information, and it's not her information. This information is also system generated. Actually, she gets most of her information from IFMIS because she controls budget. So for any payment to go through, she has to sign. The only time I go to worry, and every Kenyan go to worry, when she says at some point she has to sign when a gun was pointed at her head. That was worrying. You remember that?
Around the payment shortly before the election or
Yes.
after? It was after.
I think it was shortly before.
That is
before
metaphorically,
the
of
election.
course.
That
Yeah.
is the payment for
The payment.
the Telposta.
Yes,
Remember the
Telposta
money?
scandal.
Yeah.
She was
When
angry
she was
at
at gunpoint. So that you say that you sign or we clear you. That was a bit worrying when she made that public statement. But at the end of the day, you can see she was telling us the truth because nobody took her to court for saying that. The thing is now dead. It's no longer with the Kenyans. But the truth of the matter is, these figures you see at the bow, these pending debts in this country, for us to clear them, we must isolate private interest from them. So that if I'm a governor, I've come to office and I find there are pending bills which have not been paid, and they have already been verified as genuine, can I just pay them?
Thank you. Right.
So that we open the doors for economic activities in this country
And move on.
we grow the
We can't be
economy.
talking about pending bills since
can't.
2017 until now. Pending bills, surely we need to move
Actually,
on.
2012.
Rice mill.
Let's say from
Well, there's something I wanted to say concerning the control budget. This is a very critical office, and our economy is sentimental. It reacts from the sentiment which are coming from the people who are holding serious offices, like control budget office, like minister in charge of treasury, like the president. What you say, the kind of sentiment you put forward out there can shape the trend in the market. And you can see the capital outflow, or you can see serious fluctuation in Nairobi Stock Exchange because of the sentiment which are coming from holders of some of these offices. And to some extent, we have seen some contradicting information from the control budget. Last week, she is quoted saying that the Treasury has accrued very huge interest loans, which have huge interest rates, and which is not true. So it is important to.
What do you mean it's not true? Can you elaborate on that?
If you go to the press conference or the issued by the minister who's in charge of Treasury last week, I think on Thursday or Friday, you see all the interest which is accruing from the loans which Kenya government has borrowed. Control budget said we have loans from IMF, which is about 14.7% interest per annum, which is not true. It's about 6.7%. So let's give information which is right to the market. Because the moment we have wrong information and we hold offices of influence, of high offices, control budget is not a director, in a ministry. She's a senior position. It's controlling the budget of the Republic of Kenya. So that's the point which I wanted to note, that not once, not twice, we have seen her contradicting or coming up with an information which is not true, as far as some information from the government. So it is important for us to desist from such. But having said that, it's always important to get such a kind of report so that we can be able to engage. A time is coming when the Republic of Kenya, especially the young, this generation, the CBC generation, where we'll not be talking about tribal arithmetic for anyone to be the president of the Republic of Kenya. We'll be talking about data. We'll be talking about, let's see your capacity in terms of managing public affairs. And where have you been able to manage some of these difficult and complex public affairs? And such data will be very important for people to make decisions. And time is coming when this country will get out of the tribal arithmetic in terms of choosing the leaders in the high office of the land. So I think this is the right direction. We need such report more often. And as my colleague said, if all these reports can be up to date, it will be very, very, very important for Kenyans to be able to interrogate some of these issues. In terms of pending bills, of course, many counties inherited, like my county, I understand Embu County inherited about 2 billion pending bills, which was accumulated by the former governor, Martin Nyaga Mabora. So how to know which is genuine, which is not genuine? There was a committee which the current governors set to interrogate those bills, and I think it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem, but it all boils to the management style of those who are in those offices.
All right, so I just need to know, as we're winding up that particular issue of pending bills in Ngruku, then where is the pending bill, the pending bills bill in the National Assembly? Where is it at? Has it come also to the floor?
I want to say this. There's a very strong feeling we are having at the Senate that, my brother Makali, there's a likelihood that we've actually let Kenyans down. Because there are certain things that we are now beginning to interrogate, which before were not. I don't even want to really blame the Senate. I just want that the necessary structural adjustments or the adjustments on the DNA of the administration of our resources as a country has been having these challenges. On several occasions, Dibal, I think you've had a case where many people have commented how. Remember when Gachagua was, DP Gachagua was talking about that they came and picked everything and went with it. In reality, what he was talking about is that there was a possibility that during President Uhuru's term, there could have been accessibility onto the CRF and the consolidated fund, and therefore directly. Now people are able to actually manipulate which money they can access, those are the things we don't want to hear in our country. We want systems which are secure, platforms which are secure. I've just seen in here that the what is it called? The government platform of making payments.
E-Citizen.
E-Citizen. That now finally the government has taken full control of it. I want to thank Makalu Mulio and my brothers, being him in the committee.
Budget committee.
Yes, they have actually forced the people who are managing that platform, and they were collecting tons of money as commissions. They have now returned it back to the government. Me, I do support what the president is trying to do with the e-governance platform. If you are a person, and you know some of these things, I don't want to look at the political end game and the advantage it may give me as a politician or not. Sometimes let us look at just basic structural arrangements to make sure that our government, our country is governed fair. Our country is governed with integrity. If the president has introduced that all schools should make sure that their students pay their school fees through this system, I am convinced that the results of this are going to be positive and acceptable, and they add value to the management of this program. But at the same time, when the government is told that be open about and give us the full content and intent of what you want to do with this system, so that then we can begin to close the loopholes. For example, you've had cases where there are students in schools where capitation money, a school says they have got 900 students, and yet the number of students are only 250. And this money of 400 students is actually eaten and shared amongst the cartels that are running these things. What we are saying is, we can have a country where our systems are solid. We can have an IFMIS system that works. We can do budgets from the county government, the CIDPs from the county governments, which are realistic, which are implementable, and which can be paid for. We don't have to run any more pending bills for whatever reason. Why are we budgeting for money that we don't have? We can have a balanced budget. And this is what we need to do. We need to, for me, Dibal, This is the debate that we need to be having in our country today. How are we going to make sure that we run outfits which are solid, which use proper management systems, where the leaders have got professionals to advise them, all right, where governors, yes, they are political leaders and they have a say on how the money is run and all that, but the governor does not necessarily have to micromanage everything in the county.
Nepal, just pointing what my brother is saying, I think as every administration comes in and there is reorganization of government, if there is a ministry which needs proper reorganization, is Treasury. Because it's extremely critical ministry, is even superior than any other ministry as far as government operations are concerned. But we have directors, we have senior people in the Treasury who have been there for years, who have created cartels within the ministry, who nothing can go, can move without their approval, without their consensus. So I think if it's a question of reorganizing government, we can see, sometimes we see where principal secretaries and CSAs are reorganized, but the fellows who are senior, technocrats, who prepare documents, who are key, who goes for international meetings, who explain to the ministers, who brief the minister, the donors, these guys, to some extent, have failed Kenya in a very, very big way in terms of coming up with proper, well-thought policies or programs which can turn around the way we implement programs in the Republic of Kenya.
They will say that maybe it's because of institutional memory. So if you make all those jigsaw puzzles, sometimes also you have rookies who cannot really be quick off the mark to catch up.
Institutional memory is key, is important. But also, nobody is a custodian of experience and knowledge that you say, without this guy, if you remove this guy from this desk, then the experience, the knowledge as far as management...
Are we talking about the same government which has been also recalling some of the retirees to come back because there's that knowledge gap that has not been transferred, that now they're wanting, they call the retirees on contractual basis so that they can continue what you're talking about because they know the elements of this.
It's true.
Then how did we make this transition that is so seamless so that we don't have this corruption so backed in the system within the civil service and the cartels?
We need to interrogate and see who are these serious, self-fresh civil servants who have worked over the years. A guy like Mulaura, he did a very good job to the Republic of Kenya. A guy like Kenya, he did a very good job to the Republic of Kenya. But at the same time, we have some others who are not truthful, who are not there to serve Kenyans, who are there to serve different interests. And these are the people who are saying, once we are reorganizing government, we also need to go further and see whether we can reorganize some of these elements within our ministries, and more so within Treasury. The other thing is that if there are people who have failed Kenyans over the years, it's us, members of parliament. Anybody who have been a member of parliament from 1963 up to now, because we have a very strong institution called Parliament. But I don't think this institution, very powerful called Parliament, serves Kenyans to 80-90% of what's supposed to be doing. If we can be able to serve Kenyans at around 90%, I'm telling you this country will change. And therefore...
90 is overshooting.
you know the bar.
70% is enough.
Yeah, even 70% is enough.
But you know, Dubala,
even 70% is enough.
We have said it many times, and I think it's not. Let me first of all comment on the civil service, because I've worked with that service for a number of years.
The Treasury.
Normally what happens is, Dubala, anytime a new government comes into power, you only change the minister and the PS and a few directors. The main civil service remains intact. And you know, these are the guys we rely on in terms of technical advice. So unless we change our governance structure, it will always be like that. And it's not unique to Treasury. Even other ministries the same. You find you just bring the heads, the minister and the PS. When they come in there, they'll find a director of education who has been there for 10, 15 years. They'll find a chief finance officer who has been there. And by the time you want to introduce any new changes, they tell you things are not done that well. And it's like they have a chain of doing things. We just start from the clerk.
Oh, they can really frustrate you.
All the way up to the director.
Yeah, they can really frustrate you and show you who is really running the ministry.
If you remember, that's where the dream team could not get it right.
Yes.
That time, I think Onyonga was in the service also as an assistant minister.
Yes.
So you find the way our civil service is structured is in a way that you only change the top, the main board remains intact. The other thing is, there has also been a challenge in terms of succession management. For example, I can tell you for now, we are likely to face a very serious challenge as a country because we have a huge gap between the top management and the middle level. They are not there. So you find there are people who are about to retire, but you don't have a team which is supposed to take over. That's why you see you have job groups in the civil service. You have job group all the way up to the top, so that you find the level PN who are the middle level civil servants. People are not there. There are lots of factors which need to be filled up. But then you have other very junior officers who have just joined. They don't have the experience to be pushed to the next level. So there's actually a succession problem which is happening. And I think we need to manage that as a country. The other bit is now the question you're asking, the issue of what Ruku is commenting about the parliament. Let's be honest, we are all members of parliament. I think we are not even doing 40% of what we should be doing for Kenyans. Yeah. We are below 40%. Yeah. We've been captured in bar. We have said it many times. We've owned up. We've owned up that I think we need to think of the architects of our politics. We still need to think about it because we like it or not. So long as we continue the way things are, even in the next parliament, and then we'll still be in the same. And the challenge is you come in as a member of a political party, which is either ruling or not ruling. And what happens now, once you're campaigning, like imagine now when Sige was campaigning for the centre position in Bomet, you would go with the president. And he aligned himself with the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, because that's what the government was pushing for. Now, when they get power, Sige is a senator in Bomet who is in the ruling party. The ruling party gave promises to Kenyans that we'll do 1, 2, 3 to you. Don't you think it puts Sige in a very awkward position that even though he's a senator, that for him to oppose what he used to tell Kenyans, I will do for you?
About his...
So you see that structure?
His party position.
And that's what we are saying now. Since he's tied to the party policies and programs, then going against the party also has consequences. People have lost committee positions. People have lost leadership positions. And people, any politician thinks about the next election. So he's thinking, in case I don't play ball, come 2027, I'm not likely to get the party ticket, which is critical for his survival. So as a politician, you're torn between, do I support my party or do I go independent in terms of thinking, and then I exit from parliament? And that's why parliament has become very weak. Both legislative process, both budget making process, because of things have been pushed by the executive. And anytime you seem like you are becoming objective and independent, you are reminded you still belong to our party.
I want to...
That's a matter which we must discuss as Kenyans. Say, how do we then get parliament, give it parliament that independence to some extent, that they can make decisions and it doesn't adversely affect their future.
So parliament has lost its autonomy as it is.
I want to say something. Yes, I really want to say something about this. The use of the term capture is a bit harsh. I'm a first-time legislator, and when we say we are not performing optimum, the use of the term captured legislature is not correct in the context of this conversation for two reasons. One, it is true that we are not doing 100% as parliament, for example. But then why? There are certain factors that has led to that inability to do the 100%. One of which is our politics. The Kenyan politics is, and I said this yesterday in a church function. We were hosting the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Moses Wetangula, in our county. You see, the most unfortunate thing is we have a political system that is almost in an election mode for the
Yes.
5-year term period that we are in office.
Continuously.
Which is so unfortunate, it's so wrong. Because what is expected of a political environment is run the campaigns, sell your manifesto, sell your candidates, get into office. Like now here we are. Kenya Kwanza did that in the election period. They closed the election and a government was formed. What is supposed to be happening right now is service delivery to the people. Let us go back to a campaign mode when 1 year to election, a season of campaign begins. That is one of the reasons why we are where we are in terms of giving ourselves an evaluation as to the performance. And it's because of our nature of politics and, of course, the appreciation of the democratic state of governance that we have. Everyone is free to politic. But the issue is, as a government, we need to restrain ourselves from what our friends in the opposition, to them, if we politic, we will definitely divert the attention. Instead of service delivered to the people, we'll be responding to issues every morning, every evening, responding to issues from the opposition. In the process, you end up losing. Two, and more critical, is the inability now to implement a lot of the policies and legislations that we have in Parliament. In Kenya, just like a number of democracies across the world, we have over-legislated. We are almost legislating on every item that we're supposed to do. What does that happen? We've just talked about the issue of the PFM Act. We've talked about the pending bills from the county governments. There are laws in place which have been enacted by Parliament and by the county assemblies. But the governors and their leadership style completely ignores them. They pay as and when they want. They procure as when when they want, without following the laid down procedures. Those are the challenges that we have.
I'm surprised.
And as much as we are saying we haven't done 100% as legislators, we are not captured. That one I know. As a matter of fact, I'm so sure that my mind is clear on what I'm supposed to do.
Point. Let me come to you, Honorable Sige, because you are the chair also of the legislative committee.
Yes, I actually chair the jailer committee.
You chair the jailer committee.
Yes.
There was an issue of the IBC. You had prepared a report.
Yes.
Did you experience any state capture during the IBC report that you had to actually, you get the report that you had, it was not what you really tabled on the... Let him answer.
Let me answer.
So that you can tell us what really state capture is. Right? If what you have sat with the committee and you cannot present it to the National to the Senate as it was, because you have to change because you got some call somewhere.
For him to be more comprehensive, our work in the Parliament work, most of the work is done at the committee level. The quality of work at the committee level, compared with, let's say, the committee in House of Congress, and other parliament in the Western world, and compared with what we are doing in Kenya at the committee level. One, we go there without even proper information. We are not supplied with more information. We don't take our time to read the documentation properly. We rely on the councils of the committee.
Masomo ni kidogo.
And then we just produce the document like now. This is a report, which is, I don't know how many pages.
Yes.
How many members of parliament will
Can
go
read
through
this?
this?
Yeah, you did.
So we, the quality of work which need to be discharged at the committee stage is very wanting.
We need to, because you can receive such a document, it's such a tome. You get it on a Friday. It's a national amendment security bill, so to speak. You get it on a Friday. You're supposed to go it through on Friday, and on Monday you're supposed to have a sitting. He's asking you very quickly, but I don't want him to let go before. So that he can actually answer the question.
Made his case.
Let me answer the question, because I was actually the chair of the committee.
You're the chair of the committee.
And remember, we had actually a report as a committee
for the IBC
based on the memoranda that we had received and submissions from players in the sector, from IBC itself, from the democratic the parties, from political parties, liaison committee, and various stakeholders who had an interest in it. Remember, Dibal, this is something that we vote for as a committee, the membership, right? And what changed in that report was the representation, and that is why it seamlessly went through. It was voted without any challenge. Even my members
There was
of
no
the committee,
interference.
yes, even my members from the committee agreed with the report that we finally submitted before the House.
What is in the public domain as far as the interference on the,
No, that is-
ultimate or the outcome of a report
Yes,
is not the same?
there wasn't any interference at all.
All right.
Okay.
Good, you've clarified that.
Thank you.
Dipal, last night I was reading a very fascinating document, which I think you could look and Google it. Olusegun Obasanjo spoke when he was making somebody was reading his speech. He said, Nigeria has failed. And for 60 years, that is in his speech, he said for 60 years, we have been looking at what was wrong with Nigeria. And yet we actually didn't look at what was possible with Nigeria. So, you know, they adopted the presidential system with devolved functions, which went to the so-called counties. The problem that we are having in our country, as I look at it now, and that is purely because of my accessibility with most of this information at the Senate, because we sit in all the committees, CPAC, Devolution, and even CPIC. My reality is this, Duval. This debate we are having here, we must continue with it. We have members of the county assembly and their legislature.
Yes.
Senator.
Yeah, sure.
They don't control their salaries. The money is sent to the governor. Are you with me? And the governor is the one who domiciles that money, and he can decide when to pay them and when not to pay them. How do you expect guys like that to audit or even to oversight a governor? So let us remove that money from the governor's office and take it to the speaker's office. Right? We must agree that the ward fund is a must for the county government. The reason why he's saying that you can look in Bomet and many of the projects you see are CDF based. Why? It is because CDF as a kitty, every constituency we know, if its money is 250 million, we know. And members of the National Assembly know, if you don't use this money well, and the voters know that you are misapproved. Am I lying?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right, yes.
they vote you out. I can tell you, Dibal, that the number of times I've been voted for, 4 times in a row, was purely because of CDF. So, we need to begin to look at the DNA of our economics and our politics. My brother here and my brother have said this. Why is it that every time, Dibal, we finish elections, we start campaigning? By the second period,
year.
by the time you are on year number 2,
Year number 2.
people have started. They're insulting each other. This guy is a thief. No. We no longer discuss the policy issues at the county level. At the national level, the politics is always, it's noise making and cantankerousness and everything. That is why our country is not moving. So can we figure out a way on how we are going to engage and sort out the DNA? So that Kenyans know that even this democracy we have, where we are actually having regular elections and where we vote and the free speech has allowed us to do everything, that this system has its own limits. And those limits are, let us fix the county governments. Let us make sure that the controller of budget, the Auditor General are allowed to perform their functions. Let us allow our court system, the judiciary, be independent. But let the judiciary be sensitive enough to know that there are certain rulings which may make some involve public interests, and some may be very sensitive based on either social, economic, like religious issues. And there are certain rulings that you have to be very sensitive and cautious about. But as a country, my observation right now is that unless we begin to interrogate the structural failures, and Obasanjo was saying, we went for a presidential system. Do you think it is necessary, without destroying devolution in Nigeria, it may be necessary they go to the parliamentary system? Does that create a scenario where, for example, parliamentary system like now, through the the bipartisan deal that we have got through Azimio and the KK government, where we are actually beginning to talk about you can create a leader of opposition who then talks on the floor of the House. the issue of ministers coming, which I saw the president was very passionate about, and the courts allowed it, whereby ministers actually now come to the house, and let the minister face Kenyans. Let Kenyans see, is this person qualified to answer questions on my behalf? Because this is delegated authority I've given him through the president, because he's the one who appointed him. My feeling is that if we take these issues and we agree, both houses, we now begin to fix the DNA. I believe our country will move ahead and will be much more successful. But like my brother, Daktari said, if we don't fix the corruption, there's nowhere we are going.
Right. Even I think I had taken special umbrage with the fact that we can have ministers meeting in Naivasha.
Yes.
One faction of the legislative assembly.
Assembly, yeah.
And yet we've amended this particular standing order to make sure that the ministers will appear in the plenary, not in the plenary, in the chambers,
Chambers,
in
yeah.
the chambers, to speak to the whole house, not a section of it. And I was asking a question then: how then do we have also the ministers jumble up together with the legislators for that particular forum that we had in Naivasha? And how is it predicated on law? Because now it seems it is a shoehorning from the executive to the ministers, or to the ministers, their policies, because without the opposition who are there, the president will actually, of course, speak at these ministers in Naivasha at the end of the day. So my question is, if we amended these standing orders, that you have the cabinet secretaries will answer questions in the chambers, why then will we go to another forum where also you'll talk about these policies that are affecting the country in Naivasha? Is that sitting well as far as legislation is concerned, or as far as the framework is concerned around it?